Wow, thank you all so much for coming tonight. This is just incredible. All right, well, first of all, we are here tonight to discuss the importance of developing youth, obviously, and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Don't worry if you don't know what they are. You'll find out a bit throughout the evening what they're all about. And I thought that you might be interested to know a little bit about how this business came to be and the journey that took me all around the world and taught me so much about the importance of leadership and listening to your heart and finding your ikigai. It's a Japanese expression which is combining what you love with what you're good at, with what you can be paid for, and what the world needs, and which ultimately led me to creating Spire and running youth leadership programs which builds confidence in our youth to change the world. No small feat. To begin with, I wanted to take you back about 20 years to the first time that I decided to step up for a leadership position. It was the first year of hotel management school in Sydney, and I was applying for a position called resident leader. And it would be responsible for taking care of the students in the dorm room of that beautiful college, which was that magnificent former monastery overlooking Manly Beach. I don't know if you know that one. And I wanted so badly to invest myself in that special place, and I put my heart and soul into that application. And I described how being born and brought up in Hong Kong had made me highly conscious and considerate of different cultures. How losing my mother to cancer when I was 12 years old forced me to deeply understand responsibility, because I had to start taking care of myself and my little brother too. A learning curve that was made even more intense when my father opted to put us in our own house in the next street from his own in downtown Perth. I know it's a bit bizarre. I'll tell you about it later. There, I had to learn how to budget finances, do the weekly shopping, cooking, cleaning, laundry, in addition to schoolwork. I also included my father's journey with cancer and how that had instilled yet another level of resilience in me at the time. So all this raw experience went into that application, and you can imagine how I felt when the student manager called me into his office and told me I hadn't been successful. But he went on to say that he and the director of the college had both agreed that instead they wanted me to run for student president. But isn't that only for second year students, I said? And he said yes, but they were willing to change the rules for me. I must have impressed them. Well, I got very busy campaigning and covered that beautiful college with neon pink campaign signs. I never wanted anything so much in my life, and yes, I won. And at 19, I was the college's youngest first ever president, student president. And I didn't take the position lightly. We had a long agenda and we got a lot done. The following year, I attended the sister hotel school in Switzerland. And I started to notice what needed to change around the campus. Couldn't help myself. And I felt compelled to make a difference on behalf of the student body. So again, I campaigned to be president, and again I won, and we accomplished a lot in that year as well. I was now learning to truly believe in my own endeavour and leadership capabilities, and I just loved supporting and boosting up those students. But to add to the challenge that year, my father died, just 2 months before my 21st birthday, and something within shifted. I was realising how precious life is, and I dedicated my 20s to living the motto Carpe Diem and wanting an extraordinary and meaningful life to make my parents proud. From there, I worked hard to reach the highest echelons of the 5-star luxury service industry, whilst completing my business degree. Combining my career with my love of travel, I worked on board the Crystal Serenity cruise ship, and by the time I was 26, I travelled to over 60 countries. But it was my next experience living in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, that I had an epiphany, and I realised my life's purpose. You see, every day I was confronted by poverty and social injustice. In particular, there was a whole homeless family living underneath where I lived. I mean, babies and little kids. I would feel so guilty coming home to my comfortable apartment each day knowing those babies would sleep on cardboard boxes that night and shower in the fountain in the park and not be attending school. They were the forgotten abouts. And I thought, in this day and age, how can that be happening? How can the government just not fix that? But my friends there told me there's so much corruption in Brazil, nothing can be done. And this lack of leadership and apathy really affected me. I'll never forget a phone call I had with my grandmother back in Australia when I told her eventually I would return back to Australia to work in hotels. And she said, "Oh, Genevieve, why do you want to serve people who can easily serve themselves?" Have you ever been a question that has literally changed your whole life? Well, that question was so powerful and awakened to me the fact that with all the challenges facing the world, I now wanted to serve those who needed it, to make a positive difference in society. And the seeds of social change and leadership began to grow. I started to listen to that inner voice which was leading me towards finding my purpose. After 2 years in Brazil, I returned home to Melbourne to study a Masters of Educational Leadership. I volunteered teaching English to refugees and taught business management at higher education level. But I continued to search for that next opportunity, which presented itself in Perth. I landed my dream job running leadership programs for university and high school students at Curtin University in Perth. But this just wasn't any leadership program. What was unique about those programs was it was based on the social change model of leadership. Which is what drew me to the job. You see, this model views leadership as the responsibility to effect positive change on behalf of others and states that leadership is a values-based and collaborative process. It recognises that all students are potential leaders and that service is an incredibly powerful vehicle for developing students' leadership skills. It was the answer I had been seeking in combining leadership with social change. Through action learning, project-based programs, the university students I worked with learned how to apply self, team and community leadership. You'll hear about that from Mariah shortly. Every semester, 30 students worked in teams to solve real community problems that local non-profit organisations were facing. Each group was assigned a mentor to support the team, but we wanted to empower the students to make their own decisions, to deal with conflicts, to learn how to manage numerous stakeholders, because that's the real world, and this is how they would transform. A close friend once described the programs I ran as being interventionist. That is, that it can change the trajectory of someone's life. In my opinion, the intervention isn't just for the individual. It can lead to a better direction for all of us. But certainly for many individuals, the transformation I witnessed were clear. Let me share some examples of past participants. First, starting with a young man called Mohak. When I first met Mohak, he was there. When he spoke, he was so shy and timid and insecure. I recalled him really wanting to succeed in the program. He worked hard for his project team and seemed to develop before our eyes, so much so that he got invited back to be the mentor. He also won a Curtin Scholarship to attend Global Village, one of the eminent leadership programs in the United States. Today, Mohak works as a consultant for Ernst & Young, and when he speaks, he exudes confidence and demands attention. When he returned to speak to our students a few years later about his experience abroad, I got goosebumps at the transformation. From that quiet, dark man I'd met originally to that confident leader he had become. Another young and very different man, Robert Ferrito, was so sure of himself to begin with that he didn't feel the need to prove himself to anyone. And he was knocked back the first time he applied for the program. But he quickly learned that leadership is about supporting and lifting up others. And when he applied again, he got in, worked hard in his team project, and guess where he is today? He is doing a PhD at Oxford on a Rhodes Scholarship. He is going to change millions of lives developing solutions to finding the solution to clean drinking water, which is one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I genuinely feel if he hadn't have become a humbler person through that program, he wouldn't be the true leader he is today. And there are so many more of these types of examples that I could share with you, where students would ring me to say, I got the job, or the placement, or the scholarship, or whatever it was that they were applying themselves for. And it wasn't surprising. Through the program, the students gained highly valuable and sought after skills which gave them that competitive advantage. I'm proud to tell you that across the 5 years working at Curtin, I contributed to the development of more than 300 socially responsible leaders from university and high schools. And it is through this work that I found my ikigai. And that brings me to right here, right now. Okay, like so many others, we moved back to Adelaide to raise our family. Upon returning, I have seen in this wonderful city a spirit for developing our youth, as well as a commitment from so many to tackle some of our most urgent societal problems. For me, these two endeavours are not mutually exclusive, and Spire aims to bring them together by offering programs based on the same social change model of leadership. Plus, I have introduced a focus on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, which I use as a frame for the students to understand the challenges facing the globe. 17, in fact, as prescribed by the United Nations. Our next speaker, Darcy Lunn, will be telling you more about that in his speech. These programs can be run internally or externally through workshops and programs. Through workshops and programs for schools, universities, councils and youth agencies. So if you believe in Spire's mission, developing young leaders for a better world, and if you want to help me to deliver these programs to as many young Adelaideans as possible, here's what you can do right now. Recommend a 13 to 16-year-old whom you think would benefit from the Inspiring Teens program I'm running next month, starting in the April school holidays. Applications are now open, so please visit the website to apply. If you're from an organisation, we're inviting sponsorships of teens through the program who have the desire to make a better world, but don't have the financial ability to pay for it. So far, we are incredibly blessed to have a company sponsoring disadvantaged teens, but there are always more who miss out. Please see me for a sponsorship form after the speeches. They're over there. Lastly, please share what Spire is doing in your social and professional networks on Facebook and LinkedIn. Please talk widely about the wonderful program we're doing and introduce me to any contacts you have in universities and schools and youth organisations. I would be eternally grateful. That's it from me. Let's make the world a better place together. And as climate activist Greta Thunberg said, change is coming, whether you like it or not. It is now my aim to develop more Gretas from Adelaide. Thank you.